Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD Starcraft, and I'm here to bring you guys another Heart of the Swarm broadcast. And today we're going to be looking at another series from DreamHack Stockholm 2013, and this is going to be from the round of 16. I thought I'd bring you guys an entire set here, a full best of 3, and it's going to be featuring two players here. One, Empire Cos as the red Terran player in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Interestingly enough, this series, or at least this game, was not played on the custom game format that DreamHack had set up. Actually, is going to be played on a more, you know, the one we're used to, obviously. So Cos is going to be the red Terran. In the bottom right-hand corner, he's a Ukrainian Terran player who's developed a very conservative Terran playstyle through ladder practice, and it actually helps him get very, very far in tournaments because he's so practiced against the cheese, so stable. He's kind of like, I guess, a Thorzane, if you will. He plays very safe and conservatively, but he is also a very good Terran player. And so we'll see how he does here. His opponent is going to be Western Wolves, SortOf, and he is going to be the blue Zerg player in the top left-hand corner of the map. SortOf is from Sweden. And, yep, woo, for all the Swedish people out there, people from Sweden. I gotta go to Europe someday. I've never been, but my brother's actually been to the UK and to France. I gotta go someday. There's so many places I'd love to visit. And so anyways, going off on a tangent right there. But anyway, SortOf is gonna be the blue Zerg player in the top left-hand corner of the map. Actually doing pretty well for himself at the WCS Sweden, yeah, I think that's what it's called, last year, the World Championship Series held by Blizzard. So I think he defeated Naniwa, he defeated Thorzane, he did very, very well, getting all the way through to the finals, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So anyways, this should be a good match. It's going to be a best of 3. We already have the spawning pool coming down here and the hatchery at the natural, which is what you'd expect to see, because as Zerg, you need to get that natural expansion down. Cos is actually going for a CC first here, I believe. Yeah, that's a command center first from Empire Cos. And, you know, like I said, he is a conservative player. On this map, Aklon Wastes, I think it's pretty easy to go for a quick expansion because of the distance you have to traverse from base to base. And yeah, it is a 1 versus 1 map, so you do know where your opponent spawns, so like a 6 pull would just crush this. But Cos is taking a slight risk here in order to get the eco lead. And this is kind of how players play in the European region as compared to like the Korean region. Koreans are very, very aggressive. They'll take a lot of risks. Most players who play in North America and in Europe play a more conservative play style. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule like TLO. TLO is just kind of crazy. But anyways, yeah, we'll see what happens here. But both players seem to be going for a safe and sound strategy here. We do have a couple of Zerglings coming out from SortOf, 2 from the natural expansion, 2 from the main. He's mining a little bit of gas too, so we might be seeing Zergling speed here, or some Zergs also like to throw down a quick Roach Warren and start to pump out a few Roaches too, but typically that first 100 gas does go towards Zergling speed. And it does look like the rocks are getting taken down. Queen on the way. Marine actually popping this Overlord a little bit. And SortOf should be able to keep this Overlord safe because on this map it's very easy to just hide it in between the main and the natural. And a Zergling is going to be allowed inside the main base. That's a bit of a mistake right there by Cos. You know, he didn't build the second depot where you would normally build it because he was worried about building the wall out here. And so because he was trying to build 2 walls at once, he ends up letting 1 Zergling leak on by. Which, you know, it isn't absolutely terrible, but now basically SortOf doesn't have to risk his Overlord anymore, and he can just he knows exactly what Cos is going for, at least in the opening stages of this game, and that's a barracks factory opening. And usually when you see something like this with the reactor, you have to be wary about a possible starport for Marine Hellion drops or Marine Widowmine drops. So this Overlord might still have to go in there and find out if there's a starport or not. So we'll see what happens, but there's another command center coming up here for Cos, and we have an armory coming, so we are going to be seeing very quick Hellbats here from Empire Cos. And, you know, Hellbats, they're great against Zerg, they're great against Protoss too, but against Zerg, they just completely, you know, destroy Zerglings. And usually against Hellbats, that does force Zerg players to consider going Roach Hydra, because Roach Hydra is so good against, you know, mech. And it's pretty good against Hellbats, so I think that's what we're going to see sort of go for once he scouts this out, but there is a starport being added on as well, so what Koss is going to be going for here is a little bit of Hellbat harass with the medevac, and he's also, like I said, adding on this CC as well, so he's going to have a bit of an aggressive opening here, but so far everything looks like a very standard Terran versus Zerg, looking to set up for an epic late game here. And this Overlord now is about to fly in. It's going to see, all right, I see a starport. I see the macro CC. Now, usually when a Zerg player sees this, it's a good indicator to go for another expansion, because you know it's unlikely, very unlikely, that Koss will be able to attack you. The Terran will be able to attack you and kill you. And so it's always a good strategy at this point to just throw down the next hatchery. And I'm fully expecting to see Western Wolves SortOf here go for another expansion. In fact, go for it right here. There really is no reason to delay, in my opinion. Just get the expansion down and be wary about possible medevac Hellbat. And so we'll see if that's what Western Wolves SortOf goes for. As a couple more barracks are being added on right now. For Koss, he's looking to add on a little bit of bio to integrate into his mech army. Kind of like the Widowmine setup here at the front door as well. This is to stop any Banelings, any Zerglings, any Roaches. This is very, very good. It will prevent any attacks, but I don't think SortOf is going to be making any attack anytime soon. He's actually adding on a Baneling nest instead of going Roach Hydra, which is interesting. Zergling Baneling, I think against Hellbats, it's a little harder to pull off. Rather than Roach Hydra, but we'll see what happens. He's certainly going to be going Zergling Baneling here with +1/+1, even though he scouted out the factory, and he knows he's going to be going up against a little bit of mech, but incredibly, it's going to work out pretty well for him because Koss is adding on bio now, and he's going Stim Pack and +1/+1, so really nice. And here comes the two medevacs. They are going to drop into the main base for Hellbats here, and these Zerglings, they just have no chance. They have to run away, and the drones should be running already, but it looks like the Zerglings are going to go for the surround here, but they should be roasted up very quickly, and there you guys see all the Zerglings going down, two Hellbats still surviving, and the two medevacs still alive as well. Queens are trying to take the medevacs out. One medevac evacuates the scene, and the next medevac picks up the remaining Hellbat and is going to get the hell out of there. Or the remaining two Hellbats, I should say. So Koss is really microing right now and trying to eke out as much damage as Terranly possible, and he's already killed off about 800 resources worth of the Zerg player. Only 200 of his own have gone down, so I think a great harass right there, and it's necessary because Koss is playing such a conservative, you know, macro command center, building up for the late game, that he has to poke and prod a little bit. He can't just sit back and try to play turtle style forever, and that's why these medevacs in Heart of the Storm, they're so good now. They can drop, they can be aggressive, you can they really allow Terrans to be much quicker than they were before. And look at this, we do have Hydralis coming out, so my initial, I guess, assumption was correct. We will see Hydras coming out here, and so it'll be a mix. It'll be like Zergling, Hydra, Baneling. So this will be an interesting army setup I haven't seen from Zerg versus Terran before. But here comes two medevacs, gonna try to fly into the third expansion, but there is Zerglings and Banelings waiting underneath, and I don't think that Koss is just gonna sacrifice his troops there. That would be an unwise use of resources. And it looks like Koss is going to go ahead and pull out and say, all right, no need to waste. But he is going to bring out an additional fleet here. More drop forces on the way. 2-2 is coming for the Terrans as well as Stim Packs. So a lot of upgrades on the way here. But the Zerg already has 1-1, and 2-2 for him is about to finish. So upgrades are about on par for both players. But Koss is the one who's being aggressive here. And finally, we do have SortOf going for the next expansion. But I don't think this is going to hold up. Not when these four medevacs come in, although it looks like Koss is just going to fly right behind it. So a missed opportunity there, not checking for the expansion, or rather not choosing to attack. And I'm going to go ahead and drop into a Hydra army, and this is not a good engagement. Oh wow, that was pretty devastating. Those Hydras just ripped up that army to pieces. And do they have move speed? No, they don't, but move speed is on the way. But it looks like on the way out, Koss says, I see a hatchery is here. I'm going to try to take it out, but their forces are ready and waiting. The Zerg swarm is everywhere. Meanwhile, in the middle of the map, a couple of Marines and Hellbats taking out a Queen that was finding herself a little bit too far away from home. And very, very good play so far from both of these players, but I gotta give the edge a little bit here to Koss. You know, he's got 175 supply. I'm not sure what to make of that. I don't know how his supply is so much higher than the Zerg players. It just has to be coming from that macro command center. I mean, right now he's operating on 3 bases, and he's adding on another CC as well, and I really feel like SortOf might have waited a little too long to get the 4th hatchery. So, You know, and he's not really fully saturated at it either. So I do think that is one reason for the discrepancy. And I guess another reason too is because Koss has killed off so many more units than SortOf has. SortOf has lost twice as much here, as you guys can see. These two changelings are still kind of chilling out here. They're red dots on the minimap, so they're confusing me a little bit, forcing me to check back there. But we do have a squad of Marines just hanging out over here. Do they not have combat shields yet? No, they don't, but they're about to finish. So combat shields finishing up just right then and there. Those Marines feeling a little bit more fortification. And it looks like Koss here, preparing to push out, has a very large Marine Hellbat with a few Widow Mines straddling the field as well. So this is interesting. We have Marine Hellbat basically against Hydra, Zergling, Baneling. Mostly Hydras, though. And I've got to say, I think this many Hydras and Banelings, I don't know if Koss's army can stand toe-to-toe with that, but I think he's just trying to use it as a distraction to get the drops in here. But the Spore Crawlers are ready and waiting, and they take out the drop almost immediately. A lot of Zerglings are waiting downstairs as well, and that army is cleaned up. Very nice job right there. Meanwhile, it looks like this army moving in, and the Banelings, they cannot get in range. The Marines are focusing the Banelings down. Very nice so far, and now Koss is pulling out of the way, but the Banelings are just too much to overcome. Meanwhile, though, another drop on the left-hand side. Will Koss be able to keep these forces alive? I don't think so. There's just too many Hydras, and that might have been the one moment that the Zerg player sort of was waiting for. He really needed a way to get back in this game, and all of a sudden, the supplies are right on par with each other. In fact, SortOf holding just a slight lead right now, and I really think that was exactly the engagement SortOf needed. Now he can claim a 5th expansion, and it looks like it's coming up right now. He's also got Adrenal Glands on the way. +3/+3 are coming for both players, and so now this game is anybody's game to take. The early advantage that Koss had basically squandered in that last engagement because I think he overcommitted a little bit into so many Hydras. And against Hydras of this magnitude, I think the Terran has to start considering adding in, you know, more siege tanks. Siege tanks are pretty good against Hydralisks from a range. They just obliterate them due to their low HP. Even though they are considered light units, not armored, siege tanks are just too incredibly good. And we can see now siege tanks are starting to roll out for Koss. It's actually the first siege tank I think that he's made all game. But the problem is, Western Wolves SortOf has already adjusted. He's starting to add in Ultralisks now, and Ultras are very dominant against siege tanks. I mean, completely, you know, completely face roll them. So Koss has to be very careful now that Ultras are out on the field. One mistake and his army can get obliterated. It looks like he wants to go for a bit of a drop here. He's bringing forces up to the north, but there are creep tumors here, which will reveal these medevacs on the way, and the Hydras are going for the intercept. And these two medevacs are not going anywhere. The remainder of the medevacs quickly ignite their afterburners and flee the scene. But meanwhile, it looks like it was just a ruse to get a major attack down here in the bottom left-hand corner. A big fungal growth coming down there, weakening a large chunk of the Marines. And now will Koss be able to take the hatchery down? He does, but the weakened Marines are just getting splattered all over the place. Banelings and Ultras doing so much splash damage. It's a mass graveyard of Marines. Their bodies and corpses litter the floor below. And SortOf, I mean, he got a great fungal. I mean, that was an amazing fungal over, it had to be like 15 Marines. And then his Ultras and Banelings just came crashing through. And unfortunately for Koss, he just didn't have any medevacs nearby because they were all to the north for the drop. So SortOf really just taking this game by the horns now, and things are looking very good for him. Resources lost about even for both sides, but the position, the map control now belonging to the Zerg player. And what is Koss going to do about this? Both players need to, it looks like Koss here trying to hold on to his expansion, but he won't be able to protect this top right one, even though it is a planetary fortress. That's a lot of Ultras, Hydras, and Banelings. And what is going on here? We have SortOf splitting his attention here, going for two different engagements, trying to take out the planetary fortress, and he will be able to do that along with all the SCVs there. Devastating blow here for Empire Koss. He's lost a ton of SCVs, he's lost an expansion, and now these forces are pushing into the main base. Queens are even coming out here as well to help transfuse, but I don't think SortOf is going to be able to push up the ramp. This is a little bit too ambitious, I feel, with Koss having the high ground and a ton of medevacs here. Koss should be able to hold, and he will be able to make this hold. on the high ground, incredible, and he basically gets his revenge right there, but he did lose his expansion at the top right-hand corner, so now, if there's ever a time for a counterattack, I think this is it for Empire Cost, but the problem is SortOf has got 10 Ultralisks on the way, and with that many Ultras, this army, I don't even know if there's enough, you know, there's just not enough to stop that many Ultralisks. So even though Koss has a maxed out army, I've got to say that the advantage has got to go to SortOf right now. He's just got way too many Ultras on the map. Where are they? There we go. And this army is damn scary. The Zerglings have Adrenal Glands here at 3-3, and Koss, I just don't think he can engage this one heads up. He has to incorporate more Marauders into his army composition, and he's got to ball up his army. He cannot, I don't know if splitting is the right decision here, but he is going to try to at least try to take out one of these hatcheries as he sends a portion of his army down south. The problem is all the creep tumors and the Overlord see the movement of troops, so SortOf has also split his army into 2 different chunks, and he should be able to prevent this attack from coming through. And he's, as you guys can see, he's got an army up here as well, and he gets a great fungal growth. 2 different engagements on the map here. It looks like Koss is going to win the southern battle incredibly, and SortOf is going to win the northern battle. Now all the troops from the north are reinforcing the battle at the south. Medevac's coming down to heal, and the remaining Ultras coming down to back up their brethren. But it looks like SortOf should have enough here. There just isn't enough Marines or Marauders left on the ground here to continue this attack. And so Koss has to pull back once again. So another great victory right there for SortOf. And StarCraft 2 is all about a game of incremental victories. You win, and you slowly build up that snowball effect. And you can see here SortOf is starting to run away with this game. Those SCVs trying to run out of the way of those cracked, upgraded Zerglings. And now it looks like SortOf is going to push up into the main, but once again, finding himself up against the Terran forces on the high ground. And here we go. It looks like Koss thinking about taking the initiative here, pushing out. Does he have enough Marauders to cleave through the Ultras? It looks like he does. More Ultras are coming in, though. Reinforcements continuing to enforce the Zerg position, but Koss has a lot of Medivacs here, healing these Marauders up. Infested Terrans coming out as well. It's a constant battle. Who is going to take the lead? Meanwhile, the Orbital Command under attack. More Marauders coming to reinforce. I think Koss will have enough. And look at the bank that Koss has as well. He's got almost 3k. And I don't know how he has so much banked resources. It's got to be a function of the mules. One of the great advantages of being Terran is, of course, you do have mules, and so Koss here just has an ungodly surplus, and that's why he's been able to hold on to this position despite, you know, being on the back foot, despite taking so much damage. Very good holds right there by Koss. 25k, 30k resources have been spent this game. So just an incredible match right now as of the 25-minute mark, in fact. And don't forget, guys, this is a best of 3, and I'm very excited because it just goes to show these 2 players are very evenly matched, which always sets up an enjoyable cast. Overlord here is pooping, preventing the Orbital Command from retrieving its home location. I think Koss will need to send a few Marines over there to take care of that Overlord, and in fact he's going to send the majority of his army. 192 supply to 184 right now. The Ultra count is still pretty high. It's at 10 Ultralisks. So it is anybody's game to take right now, ladies and gentlemen. The upgrades are maxed across the board. In fact, Koss is now starting to think about upgrading his vehicle weapons as well, since he's incorporating more mech. And he is also pushing out right now. Rather than splitting his army into 2 chunks, he's going to go for a main push. He's also gotten a drop off into the main base, and this is crucial. If he can take out the Ultralisk Cavern, then he's going to be able to shut down Ultra production for SortOf. The Transfuse goes down, but it's not enough to save the Ultra Cavern. And now SortOf will not be able to reinforce with more Ultralisks. This is the best time for Koss to attack, and every Ultralisk he picks off, it will not be able to be replaced for at least another minute or so. This is great for Koss, and he's going to be able to take out this hatchery, I think. Not sure why SortOf is waiting in the back. He needs to save this hatchery at all costs. He's coming in with all of his forces right now. The hatchery is saved. The hatchery is saved, but not just yet. Hold your horses. It looks like SortOf here is holding onto the high ground. Koss deciding to pull back a little bit, but Koss has not given up yet. Yeah, actually, he is going to go ahead and retreat here. and the siege tanks loading up into the medevacs. So I thought Koss right there might stick around and really try to push his luck here and take out this hatchery, as it's so close to going down. It's at 256 HP. He could pull back here and just send a drop course to finish off that hatchery. I think that's what Koss is going to try to do. Widowmine exploding on the on a Zergling there, detonating its corpse, but SortOf has actually gained back a little bit of territory, and he's claimed the 12 o'clock expansion for his own here. A bit of a steal, and now it looks like SortOf is coming in from two different angles, but Koss steps back, he retreats a little bit, and will he have enough forces to hold on against this many Ultras? The fungal growth locking the Marauders down. The Marauders cannot run away, but there's so many Marauders, and the Ultras were unable to cleave the Marauders in time, and with that much Terran firepower, the Ultras were taken down. What a valiant stand by these magnificent Marines and Marauders. I mean, the purple medal for bravery has to go to these guys. The staring death in the face and holding their ground. It's not like they had a choice over Fungal anyways, but they were able to hold their ground and blast those Ultras sky high. And now this game's swinging right back in favor of Koss. The surplus for both players have been dwindled, although of course the Terran has an extra surplus of gas, which is what you'd expect. When Terran goes mostly bio, they usually have a lot of leftover gas. Fungal growth coming down, very nice fungal, limiting these medevacs and taking them down really really makes these Marauders a lot more easier to deal with. Otherwise, they just have like infinite HP, especially with +3 armor. A new Ultra Cavern is on the way. And right now, we have a bit of an interesting setup. Really, Koss has no income in terms of minerals to speak of. He's distance mining right now to this location. He just landed a new command center, though, and he's warping it into a planetary fortress. So now Koss is going to get that fresh influx of minerals that he so desperately needs in order to continue funding this war effort. But at the same time, you know, SortOf is also mining at this top location, although he's not fully saturated. It would do him good to bring more drones over there. And we have a bit of a standoff right now. The borders have been set, if you will. Two countries vying for control. We have the Zerg on the high ground and the Terran on the low ground. And all hell is about to break loose. Diplomacy has failed. Lives have been lost. 32k resources versus 40k resources. Look at how many units have gone down this game. That's pretty incredible. And yeah, both of these guys, I mean, the Terran is basically on the border of the creep with SortOf. SortOf actually needs more forces here. I'm a little surprised he's a bit lackluster. I guess he's relying on his heavy energy infestors, but this is very risky. He's going to need really good fungal growths here. Does he have enough? Great fungal growth. In the meantime, Ultras are stampeding through the middle of the map, looking to cut off the reinforcements. So they're SortOf here trying to go for a pincer play, coming in from two different angles. But at the same time, he's got to be worried because it looks like his hatchery is under attack. Although it looks like he's got a couple Ultras there, so he saves it. And here comes a pincer play. Will it be enough for SortOf to crush Koss's army? I don't think so. I think Koss has the planetary fortress here, and that should be enough to hold off against his attack. A valiant effort by the Zerg player, but it will not be enough. And Koss is going to make this hold. Incredible game. And his forces are still remaining at this 12 o'clock ninja expansion. More reinforcements coming in for SortOf, but I think SortOf is starting to dwindle down here, trying to transfuse the Ultras, but it won't be enough. You know, when you're facing off against this many Marauders, there's something to be said for going for Cracklings. Just make mass Zerglings with Infestors is really, really good against Marauders. I'm surprised that SortOf is still going with Ultras, to be quite honest with you guys. The Cracklings do clean up the drop on the top-hand side. SortOf hasn't given up yet. He's brought in a Swarm Host for added deterrence, but I don't know how much of a deterrence that will actually be. But these Marauders have gotten pretty weakened here. A bit of an overstim, I suppose, through the constant attacks, and the drones are saturating this new location. Both players still so low on money. I mean, they're under 200 minerals apiece right now. Viper trying to suck energy from a hatchery that's almost dead. And I think that Koss has enough forces here to take this game. You know, barring a miracle by SortOf, great blinding cloud right there. That shuts down a lot of the Marauders, but there just isn't enough forces here. And SortOf calls GG. Empire Koss is victorious in an incredible game right there. That was a sick Terran versus Zerg. And don't forget, guys, this is a best of 3. I'm very excited to go into game 2, seeing how closely matched these two guys are. So do stay tuned, guys. Empire Koss, your victory for game 1 here in the round of 16. I'll see you guys in game 2.